Hello, I'm Colleen Gallagher, CEO at Onward and Upward, and you're listening to the Association Insights podcast, where each week we interview association leaders from across the country to hear how they're trying new things, taking big risks, and delivering value for their members. We'll explore the realities of what it means to work in and with associations and bring you the insights and inspiration you need to advance your career and make big changes at your association. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Association Insights podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Gallagher, and I'm so excited for today's conversation. Jamie Shibley is joining me on the podcast today, and she is the CEO of The Expressory, a strategic engagement agency that believes the key to accelerating your business growth and profitability in the post-COVID era will rely on your ability to maintain personal connections to build stronger emotional loyalty in your business relationships. After 20 years in the corporate world full of IT and e-commerce roles, Jamie launched an online brand of her own. She understands the influence of strategic gifts and wants to positively impact the mental well-being in our world through helping businesses acknowledge and care for their community members. I'm also lucky enough to call Jamie a friend. And Jamie, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Oh my gosh, me too. And I just love everything about the timing of this. And I think everyone's mental well-being could use some help right now. So,
for sure.
Yeah. So I want to start with your story. I know you grew up watching your grandfather build his business, which was a flower shop, and really do that through relationships. How did that experience shape the way you think about strategic engagement today and ultimately lead to The Expressory?
Yeah, I think that like anybody who has been lucky enough to have had that experience in small business years ago. I mean, that was, what are we talking, 30 years ago? You see a different world. Like it didn't look at all like today as far as how we built businesses back then. It was all based on who you knew and who knew you. Just in the flower shop in general is such a positive environment. And so watching him connect with everybody that walked through that door, like that's something you just don't forget. And unfortunately, I think most of us would probably agree, digital has taken that piece of it away from us. It's great because we can speak to the masses, but at what level, And so as I moved into helping businesses with nurturing their relationships, I was really able to draw from knowing how it used to be.
Yeah. I love that. This is airing right before Thanksgiving, so
okay,
holiday panic mode,
right? Yeah.
I think for our world in the associations, professionals here, a lot of them are realizing, okay, should we be doing anything? Do we need to show our members and our sponsors or our donors, depending on who your key partners are, that we appreciate you? If you have an association come to you, it's the end of November. What's your triage playbook for last minute, so meaningful gifting?
Right. Well, yeah, it is last minute. However, what we usually tell people is definitely there's no wrong time to show appreciation, right? And so I know a lot of us want to get those types of messages out to the people who are important to our business around Thanksgiving, the gratitude theme or holidays. But we should look at it that, things like New Year's make sense as well. Valentine's Day has been another big one. And we can really work with, if you get creative, there are a lot of other time frames or themes that you could use to actually reach out. And it'll work just as well, if not even better, because you're kind of out of that busy time frame. So don't stress about that. The first thing we tell people is to, or we would tell an association, is to think about your list. Who's important for you to thank, right? Or to show some acknowledgement to? Is it your member base? If you have donors or sponsors, and kind of do a tier. Think about it in tiers. They don't all need the same type of appreciation, but really we suggest start there and then figure out a budget. right? Are you just sending cards? Are you sending any type of gift with it? And then lastly, start to think about that theme. What is it that you want to express? What is it? What time frame? There's lots of ways we can think about themes, and then that really guides what you're going to put together and send.
Yeah, the themes I love and having like a real meaning behind it. And then your point about don't freak out and just rush something out the door. I mean, maybe there was an
Yeah,
opportunity to get something out the door, but to your point, I mean, we for our clients, we do a St. Patrick's Day gift, and we talk about being lucky to have them. Colin and Gallagher, I'm
yes,
very Irish, so
yeah. See,
we
that's
can do different
great.
things that make
Yep.
sense for your members and what you're doing. I I want to talk about it in the light of, in terms of deepening loyalty and think
Yeah.
about gifting from that respect rather than just hey, here's a one-time thanks. And
Right.
have you worked with an association on something like this, and how would you help them prioritize how to do this effort?
Yeah. Yes, we have. We actually have one association that's been with us almost 5 years now. They've come back, I want to say, for holiday gifting. And they started because donors were a priority. What they recognized is that they wanted to do something for the high level donors, and then they added members along with it. But if we think about sponsors and donors specifically, because we want to encourage and increase that loyalty, um, I suggest we take a look at what's important to a donor, right? Think about what's important in their world and their values. A lot of them are doing this because they really do like that sense of community and they want to contribute and they want to they're very highly empathetic usually, um, and they really cherish making a difference. And I say all these things because I want that to let it trigger ideas. If you if you think about making a difference, if they want to make a difference, what if you sent something in your messaging that said, is something about the difference you make in the world. Send them something with a globe or a card that shows like the globe and the difference you're making in the world, right? Um, your words alone, they love hearing stories about the impact that they made. So even if it's just a card with, hey, this year you contributed to X, Y, and Z. That makes a big difference and it excites that kind of person to do it again.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, well, and that also is, I think, with associations, we often default to just generic swag for our sponsors, for our
Sure.
members. So how could we use gifting, for our association listeners? How can they do that as part of a larger, especially thinking of their sponsors, maybe more so than
Mhm.
members, but looking at the sponsors as part of that larger like loyalty and renewal strategy instead of the like check at the end of the year we sent them their swag.
Right. Okay, when you think of sponsors, and typically you have these around events or things that you're trying to do. Um, there is when we design meaningful gifts for people, we look at we have like 6 different storylines. One of the storylines we use to design the messaging and the gift itself is called shared experiences. Well, a sponsor has a shared experience with you, right? Especially if it was around an event. And so when you can send them a gift or even just a message reminding them of the theme of the event and how amazing it was, like that stays with them because it brings up that positive emotion of the event itself. So, for instance, maybe it's an annual event and they've been sponsoring you for a while. Is there something related to the theme of the event that could exist in a physical sense that they're collecting? Um, we have an agency. It'll be a little similar, who does an annual holiday party, and they have a theme every year, and their invitations and the kind of giveaway always reflect that theme. They have people who have been to this thing so many times, they collect the invitations, they collect the little giveaway because it's such a reminder of how much fun they have. So I want you to think along those lines, because that, and then it's also sitting there and it will remind them of you, and they get to talk about you and tell that story about the association.
Yeah, being able to tell that story, that is just so important, and you
Yeah.
make people feel a part of it, like they're a really important
Right.
piece of it. I love that.
Part of the family, right?
Yeah. So thinking more broadly to members, because the renewal cycle is huge for associations, especially some have an annual renewal cycle, so everyone's renewing at the same time. Others are based on when they've come in, so it can be different. But what do you see as the biggest opportunities for associations to use strategic gifting or these appreciation touch points when you think about member renewal and engagement?
So for this, I want to remind people that, like, for us, when we define, well, when you look at the definition of gifting, a gift just means to give something. And so in our minds, usually we think of gift as a present, okay? It doesn't have to be a present. It just means you're giving something. And so as an association, have you given enough value? Have you reminded them of why they're a part of this enough? Okay. So, possibly around the renewal time, are you sending out a little something that speaks to, like, hey, all that they've accomplished or they've had available this year as part of the membership? Or maybe you're giving them a new resource. This particular association that did the holiday ones, one year they had launched like a new part of their membership, a new tool or something. And so in the messaging, they talked about having access to this new tool. That's value right there, right? And they wove it into, we're grateful for you and all those things. But they gave. And so showing up, showing your members that you care, and you're giving them more helpful things, even if it's just mailing them an article, things like that. It goes a long way, because at the end of the day, we all want to know that you care. And if you're just quiet throughout the year, I'm not reminded of that, right? Yeah. So hopefully that helps trigger some ideas.
Yeah, I think one thing that it comes to mind though is this is probably going to hit home with a lot of folks, and they're going to say, "Yeah, like this is a great idea," but we already do 18 million things a day. We're already behind.
Yeah.
We're understaffed. Association professionals are always burnt out. I feel like they just have so much on their plate. How does your business help fulfill this? I guess I'm curious, like if they wanted to outsource this or do something, but still have to feel personal, how does that work?
Sure. Yeah, we do a lot of project based. Like if it's a one time mailing, we work with companies where they can come and hire us for that project. We'll help them design, we'll help them source, we'll help them figure out what it is that they're going to execute, and then we do it for them. Like, so they send us the list, and we make sure it gets out. We also have, we don't have associations who generally use us. As an ongoing service. But a lot of our companies, it's an ongoing, and every month they're welcoming new members or things like welcome new clients. So that's another way. But I think even if you're going to try to do this yourself, what I want people to think about is, this is one of those efforts that is so easily, like you said, there's so much work, you wear so many hats, and this is something that is so easily pushed to the side as a nice to have, because we have to get all those million other things off our plates, and we think that, well, we send the emails, we did enough, they've got all this digital stuff. But I want to remind you guys, in today's world, again, bringing this back from all my years working in the flower shop thing, um, in today's world, people are feeling very isolated because of this digital overwhelm. And it's our mailboxes, it's our phones, it's constant noise. And we have learned to ignore and delete and block. So when you have an opportunity to put something in someone's hands, it is automatically connecting with the part of the brain that establishes perceived value and that emotional connection. And that's where I think we win in today's market.
Well, and I mean, it's a struggle now to keep people loyal. There's so many options for them for community, and to be able to show that it's a real community and that you're going to have something that makes you feel more a part of it and not just, another thing I can get an email from or join an online
Right.
forum on. Like that goes a long way.
Right. Yep.
You mentioned earlier about like the tiers, and I know you've written about focusing on relationships that matter most and not just trying to like send something to everyone. And so for some
Yeah.
associations that have these really big lists, whether they have member companies or individual members, how do you recommend they balance scale with personalization?
That's a great question. So personalization doesn't necessarily have to mean, Colleen, I know you like dogs, whatever it may be, right? Personalization is about recognizing what's important to people in general. Okay. So associations exist for a reason because they're very focused on a certain set of industry or whatever it may be. You know your people. You know right now what is important in their world, what they're struggling with, what just happened maybe in their market that shook them up. Um, if in general, how would I describe this? Like, you got their pain points, their challenges, what things, their goals. What are they working toward? What are they all striving to achieve? Okay. That feels like personalization when I receive something that supports me in those things because you just validated what I know I'm struggling with, right? You just showed up and said, I see you. I know this year has been hard, right? So I want you to look at the overall themes that are happening in the environment and be very genuine about acknowledging it because at the end of the day, we all want to know, oh my God, they got me.
Yeah.
That's the social psychology of a long lasting relationship. When people feel that you understand them, you validate what's important, and you show you care. Okay, so that's how you still manage these long lists, but to make it personal.
Yeah, I love that. And sort of build on that. I think an important thing to think about is, are we investing in relationships, not just technology? And I know you've done some market research where you found that strategic engagement is actually a competitive advantage and that care can improve profitability. And I love
Yeah,
that line of thinking. So
thank you.
for associations who invested heavily, they've got their CRMs, they've got their association management systems, they've got different marketing automation. How do they invest in relationship strategy that matches all of that?
Right. So you brought up the research, and I want to point out because we were just talking about members. In our research, when people received a gift that made them feel like you care, 69% of them say it makes them more likely to stay. 70% say they would recommend a vendor who expresses care. So think about that. Okay. So how do you manage it? We saw, I think the number was like only 34% of people of companies in our research actually had a strategy for this.
Mhm.
Okay, so the key is, first of all, is get that list together. Like, who is a huge priority for your company, or for the association to maintain. And then we like to say, and we'll say for members, let's equate them to clients, right? They're clients. Um, we typically say plan 4 touch points a year, so once a quarter. How are you showing up in front of them and not just your newsletters, right? And so we're coming up at the end of the year. If your team could sit down and in January plan out 4 touch points once a quarter, what are you going to send your members physically, right, to show up in front of them? And most of it could just be helpful stuff. You're showing that you care about what's important in their world.
Yeah.
And then make one of them, something just because, just a gift. Hey, we see you, you know. Right now in this world, as an example, what would you call it? Wellness gifts
Yeah.
are
I
huge
bet.
because people are stressed. I mean, most of us know this, right? Businesses took a hit this year, a lot. And so if you can acknowledge that as just as a general theme, Like, man, I feel seen.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So then that next step becomes measuring the ROI of appreciation. So
Yeah.
in the
Oh, yeah.
association world, it's always prove the value. I mean, that's how you keep your members,
Yeah.
is what is our ROI? So how can association professionals think about measuring the impact of strategic gifting and appreciation?
So I saw some data. I've seen it in multiple sources, HubSpot at one point. But the stat is that every year companies lose 20% of their existing clients just because they fail to show up. So if you can, so I think said another way, the average company has about a 75% retention rate. So if you are nurturing your members and you're above a 75% retention rate, okay, first of all, great stat, right? You're winning.
Yeah.
um, we also recommend that you keep track of the number of meetings and additional conversations that are coming your way, because when you engage with people, they kind of want to talk to you a little more.
Right.
They want to, let's chat. Maybe they're going to give you an introduction. They're going to invite you to, be at one of their events. And referrals. That's another key metric to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
These are the things you usually tend to see an uptick in.
Yeah, that's great. So if you could leave association execs with one big idea when it comes to gifting and appreciation, something that could really just change how they think about, if they have a foundation, their donors, or just within the association world, their sponsors and their members next year, what would it be?
Plan at least one outreach that is simply about the person.
Yes.
Like, right, as a human. And I don't mean about Colleen as an individual. If you can get there, yes, fantastic, right? But I know you've got masses. So how do you show them I see you as a human being and I appreciate that you're here? Remember, it's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah, that's perfectly summed up. I love that so much.
Thank you.
I think this is going to really hit home with a lot of our association listeners here, and give them some new ideas to think about for next year.
I hope so.
Before we let you go, though, we like to wrap up every podcast with some just for fun questions, a little lightning round style. So, first one, have you gotten to get away to anywhere fun lately?
You know what? I just went to, I spent a weekend up in northern Wisconsin, like very, very northern Wisconsin, where you see bears.
Oh, wow.
And lots of fun nature. Yeah. So I consider that fun because it was doing nothing.
I love it. Definitely a nice break. All right. What podcast or podcasts would you recommend to our listeners if you're a podcast fan?
Oh, does it have to be business? I actually read more business. I am a true crime junkie. So when I have time, it's usually podcasts like that.
That's awesome. My team would love that. They're big fans on that front. So
Case File, I think, is a series that I listen to every once in a while. Yeah.
All right. What's one place in the U.S. you've never been to but are dying to go?
Yosemite.
Ooh, that's on my list. Yeah. I would love to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had it planned during COVID.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yep.
All right. So, last one. Finish the sentence. When you see me looking at my phone, it probably means that I'm
looking at dog videos.
I mean, what better way to look at the phone?
Right.
Amazing. Thank you again. This has been so fun, and loved hearing from you and learning from you and all the great things that you're doing.
Thank you. I feel free to have anybody reach out if they need any more, ideas. So appreciate it.
That's a wrap for today's episode. The Association Insights Podcast, previously known as the Association 100 Podcast, is a production of Onward and Upward Marketing and Communications, where our mission is to make associations and nonprofits the go-to source in their industries through earned media and thought leadership. This podcast is an extension of our newsletter, a bi-monthly collection of best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies delivered straight to your inbox. Have you undertaken a big change at your association? Or do you have some words and wisdom from the trenches of association life? We want to hear from you, and so do our listeners. Drop us a note at info@onwardupward.com. That's info@onwrdupward.com. wrd.com. Be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share with your friends and colleagues. We're available anywhere podcasts are found. Come back next week for more association insights and inspiration. Thanks for tuning in.